That's my favorite little bar. When a hot band's playing, the people come from near and far. That's where the women are hot, the liquor is cheap, and the food, it tastes so good. So when I'm down and out, I just think to myself, it would be great if I only could. I wanna go back to Texas, where everybody's feeling fine. I wanna go back to Texas, where they treat you so kind. I wanna go back to Texas, boy, I had a real good time. I wanna go back to Texas, down in Georgia on the coastline.
Tipsy McSway's at 1414 Newcastle Street in historic downtown Brunswick, Georgia is your friendly neighborhood bar and grill where you'll find it all. Good food, good music, good times. I want to go back to Tipsy's.
Well, if you wanna get wild, you're feeling alright, and it's time for you to blow a fuse. Come ready, jump and shout, and really get loud, guaranteed to lose your blues. Yeah, by the time to go home, you won't stay alone, you're gonna find some TLC. And for the rest of your life, you remember the night down in Georgia by the sea. I wanna go back to Texas, where everybody's feeling fine. I wanna go back to Texas, where they treat you so kind. Yeah, I wanna go back to Texas, boy, I had a real good time. I wanna go back to Texas, down in Georgia on the coastline.
It's always amazing to me how people don't know their history. And that's why these tribute festivals are so important. Not only to bring the music community together, but to get people to realize, like, hey, whoa, this his really important person was from Waycross, or went to school in Jacksonville.
I was 22, grew up here, born here, did not hear the words Graham Parsons until I met his nephew, who
It was named after
him, and
we call him Graham.
Yeah.
Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Something in the Water. I'm co-host, Uncle Dave Griffin.
I'm Sean Clark, and we're here with our good buddy Brad Loretti, singer-songwriter.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
On
Brad
the road.
Loretti.
Yeah.
I like that hat, man.
Thank you. You inspired it, actually. I saw your hat collection, and I'm like, I
That's
can't
right,
go in
that's
here
right.
looking like this.
Brad rolled into town this afternoon and
But I do have.
stopped by my house before we came over to shoot the podcast, and he was admiring my hat collection. And I told him that my daughter's got a little clothing store, women's clothing boutique here in Waycross, and Megan's Boutique. And she sells these hats. And so we went down there and tried some on and couldn't find just the right one. Then 30 minutes before showtime, I took him to the Tractor Supply. So there you go.
Yeah.
Tractor Supply.
If you're listening.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we do every time I come here. We go shopping, retail therapy. I tell you all my problems, and then we go buy stuff. Like a good American.
It usually works out.
That's a good hat. I've been looking for myself a hat, and I didn't realize Tractor Supply had any.
They got some down
nice
there.
ones.
Just cowboy hats.
My problem is I got a big head.
Me too.
Like I need the extra large, and so you got to look a little extra sometimes.
And it resembles. Pull out your album right there. There's you sporting a fedora on that one, but that's the Stetson, right?
That's my Stetson Santa Fe. This one's in black, which I was feeling, kind of like a villain at the time when I did this. And then since the album came out, I said, I'm really not that bad of a guy. I'm a nice guy. I'm on the good side.
So now you've opted for dark brown.
Yeah, dark brown. And eventually
yeah.
I want to get to gray like Uncle Dave.
And speaking of which, the dark brown hat that you're wearing from Tractor Supply was 1/5 the amount of that you paid for the Stetson.
That's right, but never tell how much you pay for stuff because
that's right.
They'll think you're rich. It's expensive.
So tell us about. Okay, folks, hold that album up to that camera right there, that side camera.
Go with
this
the flow.
Frontier Needs Heroes. Okay. That is the name of Brad's group project. I guess you could call it project because you
art project.
You go from solo to duo to group.
Depending on my relationship status,
yeah, and keep the same name. This Frontier Needs Heroes. Is that an actual quote from something or somebody, or did you come up with that?
It kind of actually my it's kind of started. I was in a band back when I was still living in New York that was called the Mountain Men.
The Mountain Men.
And we broke up because, all bands break up. Mm-hmm. And I was like trying to come up with a name. So I came up with the Frontiersmen. But then I was kind of like, that's kind of like, too hokey for New York. And so I was like, what about This Frontier? And then my friend Sebastian, who recorded the album, so he just said, This Frontier Needs Heroes. And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And people, love the name. It's meant to be sort of inspirational. Yeah. Kind of like, back in World War II, Woody Guthrie used to write, This machine kills fascists.
Exactly.
That was my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wrote in the press release. Mm-hmm. So
it does. It has that feel.
Right. And Woody Guthrie was such a huge influence on me. So it kind of, that's the spirit of it. But at the time, when I came up with the name, I thought, fascists. I mean, who's ever heard of fascists? And then here we are. They're coming back. Like the 90s, grunge scene. So it's like, but it's meant to be a positive thing to inspire people to believe that even small things in their life can be heroic, and to, just try to be a good person.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's very positive.
Yep. It's just too long for people to remember most of the time.
Well, you could do the old acronym.
TFNH.
TFNH.
Yeah. Then I'd have to change my Instagram profile. That's my agent.
Thank God it's Friday for dyslexics or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Then people start, making up funny things to make fun of you, which is, I don't know if that means if that's a good thing or not. Yeah. Usually, when people are making fun of you, that means that you're successful.
Yeah. Too friggin' nice, huh?
Yeah. Nice guys finish last. You ever hear that?
Yeah. I'm the. I represent that one. Pretty good. So first, let's go back to how we met. Your memory of that is probably better than mine. But so I've been putting on the annual Graham Parsons Guitar Pull Tribute Festival since '98, and the first 4 years was backyard party, unofficial. And then we moved it into the public and started having them, started having real, sure enough, headliners and supporting groups and sponsors and vendors and charging money for tickets and all that kind of thing. And it was long about...
I came in 2012.
12.
That's when I moved to Jacksonville. Man, I moved there like the summer of 2012. And I was working at the Underbelly. And
Underbelly was a nightclub downtown Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm. And you guys, one of you guys put a poster up on the wall or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, let me message these guys because, you know.
You knew who Graham was already.
Yeah, of course. and I think I messaged you and said, hey, I just moved here and I know that it's short notice, but if anybody cancels, I'd be happy to play. And somebody canceled or something. I don't know.
This being 2012 would have been along about the last weekend of September in 2012. We made it happen, though, right? Yep. And you played 4
or 5 years.
4 or 5 years running there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then I kind of we were doing the songwriting contest too.
You came up with that. Seems to me that we had that conversation on the porch at LL Creek. Did you come up here?
Yeah, we did a...
You came up. Mm-hmm. I was doing a Uncle Dave's Saturday night something. Lita had me hosting a... I can't remember what it was called, porch jam or something like that.
Porch jam.
Saturday night porch jam, and she let me be in charge of it. And it was like, it wasn't every Saturday. It was like maybe one Saturday out of the month, 1 or 2 Saturdays out of the month. I would book 2 or 3 songwriters, and we'd get up there and just play originals all night long. And you were there one Saturday, and that's when we were talking out on the back porch, and you said, I've got this idea for the guitar pull. You need to have a Graham Parsons guitar pull songwriting competition to go along with the festival, and that was huge. That was a great idea, and it really took off. A lot of folks were involved in submitting their original songs, and you came up with that whole deal, and excellent idea.
Well, you know what it was? I was sitting there, and I was kind of new to Jacksonville. I had moved from New York, and everybody was always like, "Why'd you move to Jacksonville?" You know. And I didn't even really know. I mean, I moved there to work at that music venue, and I'll just try to mix things up. I was kind of bored in my life, just looking for something new. And I'm hanging out with all these people, and I'm like, oh, do you guys know about the Graham Parsons guitar pull up in Waycross, which is just down the road? And they were like, oh, I think my dad went to high school with him and played in a band with him and stuff. And I was like, wow. Okay, so because part of Graham's history, he went to high school in Jackson.
Bowles Academy.
Right.
Sure did.
And for me, I'm a historian, and it's always amazing to me how people don't know their history. And that's why these tribute festivals are so important, not only to bring the music community together, but to get people to realize like, hey, whoa, his really important person was from Waycross, or went to school in Jacksonville.
I was 22, grew up here, born here, did not hear the words Graham Parsons until I met his nephew, who
It was named after
was named after him, and
we call him Graham.
yeah, and then I met Dave, and I was just like, what? Where? You know, I was already a songwriter and everything, and it's what is this?
Yep.
Well, it just goes to show you the lack of impetus by the town itself.
But the fact that you've done this tribute festival for 20, how many years?
24. Yeah.
I mean, everybody that you come across at least knows.
Yeah, it served that purpose. You know, it is educational too, and entertaining as far as the music goes, but educational at the same time, and getting that information out there. And
well, also think about the people that we met. Ian Dunlap.
I love that part about it.
And then I met
That's my favorite thing about the festival is the community that it's built. You know.
Yeah, right. I mean, and
people who otherwise would not have ever met.
Exactly. No, that's and that to me is really what even being a musician is all about too. Because, I tour a lot, like all over. I just was out on the West Coast and doing some shows like in Montana and Seattle and San Francisco, and just seeing those musicians that I haven't seen in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, honestly, I was talking to Betsy Frank about it up in Eddie Owens, and I was like, really, I just came here to see you.
Of course.
It's great. I get to play my songs every night, fine, but really, I'm
to congregate with other.
Yeah, my friends, at this point, they're all over the world, you know.
Betsy's got the best hugs.
Yep.
I would recommend a hug from Betsy Frank.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I have one of her t-shirts. I wore it for like 3 days after she hugged me.
She's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
So you've been on the road in all this COVID pandemic and everything. You actually been doing some traveling, huh?
Well, all the shows have been outdoors mostly. So, they're all CDC compliant,
right?
Local ordinances and stuff. And, so it's been small groups of people who are, looking for what, only live music can do, which is bring people together and hear the sound. We were talking about how vinyl sounds so much better. But I mean, what sounds better than a live show?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best sound you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything we're doing is safe. I'm doing a couple more shows, and then I'm probably going to take a few months off and see how it goes, because every area has been like different.
So where are you living now?
I'm in Miami. Mm-hmm. Well, after I left Jacksonville, I moved to Nashville. I was living in Nashville for a few years.
Okay.
Because, I was obviously Nashville's always like a place, songwriting mecca. And I was like, well, hey, I'm not doing anything else right now. I might as well go to Nashville and try it out.
Is that your first time there?
Living there, yeah. I had been playing some shows, so I went to Nashville first like 20 years ago when I was in college with my friends. We drove from New York for like a weekend. And I remember we went to like a show and I was just like, whoa, and so, you can't beat the songwriting scene in Nashville. There's people from all walks of life. There's the hit makers, but then there's like just cool people like us. And so I met like lots of lots of friends there, and you know, I'm definitely gonna like. But then like I kind of was like, I was touring a lot in Europe, and I was like, you know, I was making more money there, so it was kind of like, well, you know, so I was spending like half the year in Europe, and then half the year in Nashville, and then the last 2 years have been this whole mess.
Yeah.
And I kind of was like, I was in New York again, living at my sister's place. And then my friend opened up like a music venue down in Miami. And I was kind of like, I had been going there for years, like for every New Year's Eve. Always kind of fascinated by it as a place because, you know, there actually was kind of a really cool music scene down there too. Like Fred Neil, Jerry Jeff Walker, Jimmy Buffett, like Miami has
Coconut Grove.
Exactly. So Miami is like, people have, you know, their skewed views on what Miami is, but it's actually a pretty awesome place.
So there's still a good like Americana scene happening down there.
Yeah, I was actually surprised, especially because working at this music venue, I've got to meet like all the songwriters, and I'm telling you, I can recommend some to you right now. April Nicole is like a young upcoming songwriter. Nick County, it's like a good friend of mine now. Rick Moon, Taylor Davis. There's guys that are doing the touring thing too. They just have to drive out of Florida 6 hours.
All of these folks are from Miami. Or
they live there now. Yeah,
they live there now. Okay.
It's hard to find anybody who
is from Miami.
is from anywhere anymore.
Right.
That's true.
One of the songs on my new album is called "Don't Hate Your Hometown," and it was inspired by I was in Paris. And the sound guy said after the show, he's like, "Hey, do you want to go to a party with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." You know, I'm in Paris, so of course I want to go to a party. And I go to the party, and they're all like, "How do you like Paris?" And I'm like, "Oh, I love Paris. The food, the wine, the city, the streets, the Seine, the art, you know, everything." And then they're like, "Oh, I hate Paris." And I was like, "Man, have you seen Toledo, Ohio?" I was like, Paris isn't that bad, you know? But it just made me realize, and I tell this story where I go now, because everywhere you go, there's the people who are from there, and then there's like the new people, and it's like there's this weird like conflict, right? Like and I remember that's actually was kind of like how Nashville was too. They're like, "Oh, you're new here." I'm like, "So what?"
Nashville's like that for sure.
Oh, you've been here for 10 years. Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
Guess what I've been doing the last 10 years? That's pretty cool too, you know? Yeah. So I always just thought it was like kind of ridiculous, you know? You know, people are people, and you should judge them by, number one, how good their songs are, and then how good of a person they are, you know? You know, but the things that actually matter, you know?
I like some of them titles I was reading. You gave me one of your albums at the house earlier. Very interesting titles. I'll refresh my memory there. What's that last one?
Leonard Cohen, How Leonard Cohen Learned to Play Guitar.
That's a long title. I can't imagine. I can't imagine what that song is going to sound like word-wise with a title like that.
Well, if you look on Spotify, it just says Leonard Cohen, because I knew if I typed that out, nobody would ever find it, you know? But that song, actually, I was, if you remember, Leonard Cohen died like either the day before the election or the morning of, like when Trump got elected. And I was just like,
2016.
Yeah, it was like either the same day or the day before. Like,
yeah.
And so I was like, you know, freaking out about Trump, and I'm just trying to forget that even happened. So I was like, well, let me do like a YouTube search for Leonard Cohen and try to find something that I have never seen before on Leonard Cohen. And I found this little speech that he was getting an award called the Azuri's Prize, which is basically the Nobel Prize from Spain for literature.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend everybody look it up because it's such an interesting thing. I wrote a song about it. But he tells the story because Leonard Cohen started off just as a writer, not as a musician.
Right.
Okay.
And one day he had this serendipitous encounter with this Spanish guitar player. And he's like, oh, can you give me a guitar lesson? So this guy gave Leonard Cohen one guitar lesson.
Yeah.
Now, the crazy part of the story is he goes back the next day, and then apparently this guy took his own life, which I thought was kind of the most Leonard Cohen sort of story you could possibly imagine. And so I was like, wow, this guy, I don't really dwell on dark subjects like that, but I just felt like this was if I'm going to write a song about suicide, this would be it. And I was actually living in Barcelona at the time. And I'm sitting on a balcony and I was learning a lot about the Spanish Civil War. And the Spanish Civil War was actually pretty brutal. There's lots of unmarked graves and lots of people were killed during those times. One of whom was Leonard Cohen's favorite poet, Federico Garcia Lorca. So I'm sitting there with all this stuff swirling around in my mind, and I'm like, how do I condense this all into a song?
Mm-hmm.
And so
that's going to be interesting to listen to.
yeah, that's one that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I would say so.
Because
songs that come from the oddest places, and to be able, and the other one there that I caught my eye was something about the muse.
When the muse comes.
When the muse comes, and it came at that point in time for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine though the weight that Leonard Cohen must have carried around after taking one guitar lesson? The guy kills himself. You probably blamed himself for a while there. Wow. Was I that bad?
I was thinking along the lines of, was I that bad? That guy felt like he had nothing to live for, and yet one of the last things he gave on this earth was teaching Leonard Cohen his first guitar chords,
which changed his direction.
That was part of the thing that blew my mind.
It's like a seed and a flower, and seed planted in a flower.
It just shows you what every day you have to live for.
The ripple effect.
If he would have did it a day earlier, we may not even be talking about Leonard Cohen right now. Well,
no, true. And if he had waited another day, he might have gone on tour with Leonard Cohen his whole life and lived this unbelievable. Yeah, it is kind of mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know the impact that you're going to have on somebody.
And I'm sure that guy felt he was probably just another student. Didn't you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It wasn't a big deal for him to show him, but the major difference that it probably made in Leonard Cohen's life,
Mm-hmm.
He changed world history.
Yeah. The little thing, what they call the butterfly effects. What would have happened had John Lennon's daddy taken him to New Zealand that day in Blackpool when he took little John out to the docks? His plan was to hijack him onto that boat, that ship, and sail off with him. And somehow or another, women's intuition, Aunt Mimi or his Mama Julia or something, sensed something was not quite right, and they managed to intercede that day. And it, sure enough, it was like they gave little John Lennon a choice. He was 4 or 5 years old, and they said, "You want to go with Daddy, or do you want to stay with Mommy?" And he's a poor kid, you know. He like looks this way and looks that way, and he kind of leans toward his daddy. And then in one of them Hallmark movie moments, he turns around right there, standing with his daddy. He turns around and looks back at Julia, and then he runs back to her. And there's his. The rest is history. What if he had gone to New Zealand? There wouldn't have been, or there may have been a Beatles, but no, it would have altered the whole thread.
Yeah, you know, that reminds me, like, if I hadn't watched that Bee Gees documentary a few months ago, I would have never moved to Miami. I'm serious. I watched the Bee Gees documentary, and I was like, and you know, so much of what they did, they recorded in Miami.
Yeah.
That's another.
And it reminded you of your
and I was
friends.
like, you know, I think I'm gonna go into my Bee Gees phase.
Yeah.
You know?
I haven't watched that yet.
You got the right look there with the shirt. You know, pop that button.
Yeah, wait, one more.
There you go. Now you're starting to.
The Miami Brad.
Bee Gees. What did BG stand for?
Maybe
Brothers Gibb.
Be like, hey, Robin, if you need another brother.
That was a good documentary, though. I loved the Bee Gees. Prior to Saturday Night Fever, you know, before they started dressing up, that music was there was a lot of talent in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that was the first Bee Gees that I heard. Was my parents had that album.
But you go back to the 60s.
Yeah,
go back to 66, 67.
But,
oh, my God, some of that stuff.
But
Massachusetts.
I liked, you know, not knowing any, that being the first thing I heard, I liked it then,
I Started a Joke, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of their stuff is dark.
Islands in the Stream.
Well, that was the thing that was so crazy, how like they got so popular, right? This was one of my takeaways from the documentary, that they had to give their songs to other artists because they were like almost like too played out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And there was one of you know what song I love is that Emotion? No, wait. What's the one?
In the words of a broken heart, it's just
no. There was another one. Oh man, maybe I'll remember it. But a female artist recorded it.
Oh,
it wasn't Islands in the Stream.
Barbra Streisand recorded one of his.
Yeah,
big.
But I just thought it was wild that they got so successful that they couldn't even record their own songs anymore. That's kind of mind blowing, you know. And they were just sitting there.
You just knew them when you heard them.
It was pretty distinctive, yeah. They had. I love the thing how they reinvented themselves to carry forth. You know, to continue the career. You know, a lot of groups. They get to a certain point and they cannot change with the times, or the styles change so drastically, you know. But they just kept changing. Mm-hmm. They would reinvent themselves, or just stylistically, anyhow. It's good stuff.
Well, and then there was that thing with the Saturday Night Fever that was like the drummers, like, somebody died and he had to leave, and they just ended up looping the drum part.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even like intentional. They just did it, and then they had to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up keeping it.
Mm-hmm.
So
was that the birth of disco?
Mm-hmm.
It was right there.
The perfection of it
kind of coincided with it, you know.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, that's
so. You got your new album,
mm-hmm.
and you're playing some pretty high profile festivals in the near future.
Yeah.
By the time this podcast airs, it'll all be history, but tell us about where you're at.
On Friday, I'm playing in St. Augustine at the Sing Out Loud Festival. I'm playing opening up for Dylan LeBlanc, who's an incredible songwriter.
Oh, yeah.
And then next week, I am playing at Merle Fest for the Chris Austin Songwriting Contest, bringing up full circle here for the songwriting contest. But that was something that it's a huge honor. I mean, Merle Fest was founded by Doc Watson, named after his son Merle. And, so one of my songs from this album, South Dakota, was picked to be a finalist. So I'm going to go up there and play it next week.
That's
and we'll
the
see
title
what
of
happens. Yeah.
The title of your song is South Dakota.
Yep. That was a song. I was just joking with my friend Kristen. Like I wrote that song in Nashville after I just met this girl who was from South Dakota and who had just moved to Nashville. Mm-hmm. And she had broke up with somebody and was like heartbroken and had just moved to Nashville. And actually I was kind of in the same place at that time. And I thought, oh, well, wait, I can write about this, my heartbreak from somebody else's perspective. And it'd be like, almost like, it's separate. Mm-hmm. And then I realized by the end, I'm like, actually, I just wrote this about myself, but that was the original inspiration, And then, South Dakota Public Radio called me up one day and interviewed me. So I was like on the NPR station up there and they were all like, okay, who was she? Because they all assumed it was one of their, South Dakota songwriters who had moved to Nashville. And I was like, oh, no. First of all, you can never kiss and tell. And then secondly, she wasn't a songwriter. So she's going to have to remain anonymous forever. I don't even remember her name anymore.
You mentioned Christian. Is that the guy that I think I may have met through you that performed at the guitar pool once or twice? I had a girl named Pearl.
Oh, Christian Lee Hudson, yeah.
Was that who you're talking about when you mentioned Christian?
Oh, no.
Your friend Christian?
No. He lives in in LA now, but he's still doing music.
But y'all are friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Christian Lee Hudson. Yeah.
It's a small world, right?
I know. I just I keep seeing in Pearl James,
Pearl Charles.
Yep.
She's doing music too.
She's doing. I see her surfacing out there, with videos and good things happen. Seems like y'all are finding your niche, your market.
Well, now that we can't play shows, we gotta do other things, and I wrote a bunch of songs last year, and I just kind of decided instead of doing another album, I'm gonna do a series of singles, because as much as we love albums and I love albums, I've
thought of that direction before.
A lot of people just boom, and it's a way of I just kind of realized with this. When you make an album, it takes for me at least, it takes 2 or 3 years to write the songs, record them, put it all together. And that's almost too long to wait anymore, So,
but with singles, you can keep them content coming quicker,
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of found as much this song, South Dakota, was on a few Spotify playlists. And, whatever, we could sit here and criticize the economics of music streaming, which I don't really feel like doing right now, but that's actually one of the few places where you can get organic traffic with people that you don't know and don't know you, and I'm not paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of so, and also it's really, really important to me for everything to be fun. I need to get excited about it. I don't want to get stressed out about it or frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like when you put out an album, the money and the time you invest in it, it kind of creates
stress.
Yeah, you feel like this is it. I'm putting all my eggs into this basket. I got to do this. I got to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't really need to do that to myself right now. You know what I mean? But this has been, I can't complain. I had a lot of good things happen so far with this album, and I recommend everybody listen to it on vinyl because it's a totally different experience. I got to work with my producer Johnny Irian up in Massachusetts, and he's like an amazing musician, and songwriter, and it turned out to be, now he's like one of my best friends.
Cool.
So, again,
where was that you recorded it?
Up in Dalton, Massachusetts, near Pittsfield in the Berkshires.
Cool.
He had at this place called the Pencil Factory. It's like one of those old brick buildings that there's a brewery in the basement and a recording studio and a coffee shop, and kind of trying to create that sense of culture and community. And he happened to have somebody had given him Jackson Browne's old Studer tape machine.
Dang.
From so we recorded this whole album on tape that Jackson Browne recorded stuff on.
Damn.
That album.
Yes.
Well,
So very cool.
Go home and listen to that tonight.
Yep. Yeah, me and Eric were listening to it the other night, and it was just I was a little tipsy, but I was like, yeah. When you listen to your own album on vinyl, there's nothing like that, man. It's just a thrill.
Yeah, it's got to be thrilling.
And I don't do it all the time, too. So when I do it, it's even whoa, because I don't even have a record player at home.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
I can tell you where you can get a good one. No, they're only about $130. They may have come down. I bought one for Christmas for myself about 4 or 5 years ago. U-Turn audio, and nice, pretty little turntable
stuff.
Yeah,
I've got one of those little suitcase deals pop up, and it's this guy where you can plug up auxiliary speakers or whatever. But that sounds cool on that little thing anyway.
Well, yeah, and you can get them Bluetooth, little tiny speakers built into it, or something like that. I don't know.
Where'd you get them printed up?
Oh, Kindercore Vinyl up in Athens, Georgia.
I've heard of them.
Oh, they're great. They're really, Cash works with them. He's one of my best friends. He played drums on my previous album. Cash Carter.
Yeah.
He's from Jacksonville originally too.
That's right.
That's how I met him.
We're Facebook friends.
Yeah, so
I think I met him through you. Probably.
Well, he came. He played it the one year that I played with the band. Cash was there.
That's right.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he's a good friend.
Well, tell us about you about the time that we met. It may have been a year or two after, but you took over this part of Stetson Kennedy Foundation, sponsored a songwriting
songwriter residency
down in Jacksonville. And Stetson Kennedy, very impressive background that I knew nothing about until you told me about him, and he was an old friend of Woody Guthrie's back in the day. And tell us, I mean, you being the biographer and all of that kind of stuff, you can tell it a whole lot better than me. Tell us a little bit about Stetson Kennedy and this land down there.
Well, this was another, example of not knowing our own history. And I went there. My friend Josh, who also played drums with me sometimes, he's a historian, and he told me about Stetson. I had read something about how Woody used to go to Florida, and I was like, this is kind of nearby. And then Josh kind of told me more about Stetson and his history. So one day I'm like, I got to go down there, because I always do that. When I was in Idaho recently, I went to Ernest Hemingway's grave. So I always do that. Everywhere I travel, I always go. If there's something to see like that, I will go. So I went there one day, and I'm like walking. It's weird. I was in Whole Foods getting lunch before I went to Beluthahatchee. And I ran into this guy, and I told him what I was doing. He's like, oh, I actually happened to work with them. And this was Iolani, who we ended up doing this. Then I met Stetson's daughter. And it turned out that Stetson had always wanted it to become like an artist residency after he passed away. Yeah. And so it's like his house is a museum. The land is like a park of St. Johns County. And then there's this other house where I actually wrote a bunch of songs there, and other songwriters too. Like we had Sarah Lee Guthrie come there. We're working on a video of her, and like to try to tell the story, because back in the day when Stetson and Woody were there, they would like sleep in a bus basically next to a little pond. And but it's like this amazing place. It was designated a literary landmark twice, once for Stetson and once for Woody, because Woody wrote one of his books there, The Seeds of Man. So it's like, for everybody who always says Florida has no history, it's like, no, actually it does. You just have to dig a little bit deeper underneath the surface.
Yeah. You familiar with Gamble Rogers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was huge too down in North Florida, and who ended up being an important fixture down there.
Well, actually, the show I'm playing on Friday is the Gamble Rogers Showcase.
It is.
Yeah. And they have a festival.
Sing Out Loud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to cancel the festival because of COVID this year, but they're doing this
as a part of
kind of it's like
as a nod towards it. Yeah. That's great.
What are y'all doing, a stream or like it's an actual concert? You said they canceled
this is going to be a concert, Friday.
Okay.
They canceled the Gamble Rogers Music Festival, but they're working a nod to it with the Sing Out Loud Festival in St. Augustine. And I was just down in St. Augustine last week for a little mini vacation.
Well, come again this weekend. Come see the show. Well, are you busy?
No, I'm not.
I'm playing this weekend, but
yeah,
you should go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that far, right? 2 hours.
I've never been to the St. Augustine Amphitheater.
Well, I'm not playing there, but I'm playing at Colonial Quarter, which is real nice outdoor. But I was thinking I'm probably going to go to a show at the amphitheater like on Sunday.
So Sing Out Loud Festival is pretty unique in that it's spread over like weekends, right?
Yeah.
Like several weekends. And they have big names.
Yeah.
Emmylou played down there one year. I remember seeing her name on the bill one year.
Yeah, they do a great job of booking like really cool stuff that I like. So, and So I'm excited. I mean, I'm going to be at Beluthahatchee this weekend too. Like, actually, if you want to come, I can show you. We can go to Beluthahatchee too, because I'm going to be there.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
See if we can't make it happen.
Yeah. But, it's, after the last year that we had, it's just so... I'm just so grateful to be able to do anything.
Yeah, me too.
So,
yeah. Well, it still ain't. I swear to God, we ain't out of the woods yet. Of course, it's like you were saying a while ago. I think this is here to stay.
mm-hmm.
It's just the new flu, mm-hmm. And eventually science will catch up to it, hopefully, like all the ones in the past, and be able to moderate the severity of it with proven vaccines. I don't know. Right now, even as we speak, there's a brand new variant out there called the Mu. Have you heard about that one?
No,
MU?
I have not been watching.
There's cases of the Mu variant in every state right now. It's just slowly gaining traction, slowly gaining, slowly being a little more in the news, Mu. So it's the new Mu flu. Steely Dan had a chord called a Mu major.
Mu major?
Yeah. It came out with, it was like a flatted second or something like that. Take the second note of the scale and flat it, I think is how you made a Mu major.
Well, you guys want to take a break and come back and you play us a song or something there, Brad?
Yeah.
You feel like playing something?
Oh, sure.
Awesome.
That sounds good.
We'll be
right back.
Something in my brain won't let me stray. Something in my veins gonna find its way. Something in the water taught me how to pray. When that cold black water finds its way into your veins, you'll never be the same.
Hey, welcome back. Okay, Brad, let's hear some of your originals off of this fine new album.
Well, I'm going to start off with the title track, Go With The Flow. And I wrote this one in Florida at Beluthahatchee. It came to me just while I was there, because that place has been a huge inspiration for me. So
Awesome.
Well, there are so many fish in the sea. And if you don't think I'm special, why you talking to me? Well, we can go on like this for many a year, but I don't want to see you drowning in tears. Well, you got to go with the flow. You gotta know and you gotta know. 'Cause if you miss the boat, you're gonna be sad, sad, sad. When I think of what I had, I could sit here feeling bad. But now I'm kinda glad that it's gone. Well, sometimes you sit and whine, sometimes you gotta sit and pine. Sometimes you drink yourself silly till you cry, cry, cry. But don't ask yourself why, just go get it done. 'Cause everything else is a waste of time. You gotta go with the flow. You gotta know and you gotta know. 'Cause if you miss the boat, you're gonna be sad, sad, sad. When I think of what I had, I can sit here feeling bad. But now I'm kinda glad that it's gone. Well, you know, sometimes it gets dark and gloomy. You can just slow down, don't be in a hurry. 'Cause if you're on the right road, you're gonna get there. There is no reason to despair. You gotta go with the flow. You gotta know and you gotta know. 'Cause if you miss the boat, you're gonna be sad, sad, sad. When I think of what I had, I can sit here feeling bad. But now I'm kinda glad that it's gone. I'm so glad that it's gone.
All right.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Well, it makes you feel better sometimes singing it. But you got to be careful when you write a song, because you never know. It might come true. Here's another one I wrote in when I was in Nashville. And then this is the one that it's a finalist at the Merle Fest Songwriting Contest. And this was like, you know, I met this girl who was, you know, had just gotten her heart broken. And I was like, oh, wow, let me try writing a song about somebody besides myself. But that I failed. She came from South Dakota. Someone tore apart her heart. So she moved to Nashville, trying to make a new start. I guess the stars aligned just as I had arrived. And inside I'm an optimist, I took it as a sign. South Dakota, I already know ya. Though I've never been, I'm gonna jump right in. And what I've seen, I really like it. And your lips just might be the right fit. I know it sounds silly that you might meet that special someone when you're all out all by yourself and you feel like you've got no one. She grabbed my arm and swiftly kissed me down the street. There is no way this could be random. South Dakota, I already know ya. Though I've never been, I'm gonna jump right in. From what I've seen, I really like it. And your lips just might be the right fit. All our friends were watching, I wondered what they thought. Love must look ridiculous to those who I forgot. What am I to do when I dream about that night? I guess go find somebody else until we get it right. South Dakota, I already know ya. Though I've never been, I'm gonna jump right in. From what I've seen, I really like it. And your lips just might be the right fit. Crazy horse grassland, Deadwood, Black Hills to the Badlands, Buffalo, Wounded Knee, Black Elk speaks, stole the gold and traded a dust bowl. South Dakota, I already know ya. Though I've never been, I'm gonna jump right in. From what I've seen, I really like it. And your lips just might be the right fit, and your wish just might be the right trip.
Yeah. I can see why that one got you in.
It's good.
That's got a good, it's memorable. I mean, it's chord, the melody, everything is just, by the end of the song, you're singing along, you know.
Thanks.
That's a good one.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is, like I was saying, you got to be careful what you write. Like right after I wrote that song, I got invited to play like a festival in South Dakota.
Oh, wow.
That's how crazy it is, you know? So now I just have to write one for every town.
So write one for every state.
And you start writing songs for what you want to happen.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I was listening to Be My Baby, like on the radio, and I was like, how crazy is it that like the guy who turned out to be a total psycho murderer like wrote this song?
You talking about Phil?
Yeah. Good old Phil. It was funny.
Well, they say there's a fine line between genius and madman.
Yeah, and he crossed them all.
Not hard to go down that trip and fall on the wrong side.
Yeah, there was like there was like this Jesus meme going around on the internet, and it turned out it was a picture of Charles Manson or something.
Oh, God.
And people didn't even recognize it.
Yeah.
So beware out there with your memes.
I think I would recognize him unless because every picture of Charles Manson I ever seen was like crazy.
Crazy,
eyes, like I'd never seen any painting of Jesus with that look. Never.
They did some Photoshop, some stuff.
Yes. Well, he did. Charles Manson thought he was Jesus, or
probably
proclaimed he was going to be the second coming. Remember, he's going to go down in a hole in the desert and wait till the end of the great race war between blacks and whites, and then reemerge out of the hole and lead whoever was left, I guess, after the race war. Okay.
Yeah. Crazy people have a way of just like going to places where, nobody else is going to go.
That's what makes them crazy.
That's what we do as songwriters.
Delusion.
We go places where nobody thinks
Delusions of
about
grandeur.
going, But that's funny because that's what Paul McCartney, when he wrote Helter Skelter, he definitely didn't have in mind mass murder. Mm-hmm. It was about climbing to the top of a playground slide, and sliding down.
The most innocent.
That's a damn happy.
Yeah.
Thought, little children on a playground, and then next thing you know, it's Tate LaBianca murders.
Well, Sir Paul tried,
He did try.
All he wanted to do was have people love each other.
Will you cut up the crazies? The crazy people.
Damn hippies.
Dirty hippies.
Yeah.
Do us one more.
Okay, this song is. I was one of those days. I was sitting there. I was trying to turn the TV on, and I couldn't figure out how to turn it on. You know how sometimes you press power, or you press on, and that turns it off, and then you turn it on, and it's never. So I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I do, I usually have trouble turning it on. And I was like, man! Like the other day, I went to the deli. I wanted to buy some prosciutto for this party I was going to, and I got to the place and it was closed. And I took my mask and I threw it on the ground. I was like, and anyway, so these are the struggles that I deal with on a daily basis. My life is super hard. But this song's called "One Mistake After the Other." Well, you can't fix all the broken things in life. You can't sit around all night crying that you've been hurt. Well, I love to live and learn, but always make things worse. 'Cause nothing's fair in all the universe. 'Cause it's just one mistake after the other. Make a wish and then try harder. Some people don't even bother, and that is why they're sad. I try not to judge, steal, or lie, but that don't mean things are gonna go right. No, I'm not one to give you all that free advice, but you gotta keep moving and leave it all behind. 'Cause it's just one mistake after the other. Make a wish and then cry harder. Some people don't even bother, and that is why they're sad. Now I'm falling down so many times, I don't know which way is up. But just like everybody else, I think I've had enough. No, I'm not one to tell you things that you already know. Some of us are just a little bit slow. 'Cause it's just one mistake after the other. Make a wish and then try harder. Some people don't even bother, and that is why it's one mistake after the other. Make a wish and then cry harder. Some people don't even bother, and that is why they're sad. That is why they're sad.
Yeah.
Right on.
I love that one now. Your songs are deceptively simple. There's a lot going on there. It's got that good old sing-along kind of quality to it, man, good sound, good writing.
Well, what do they say? It's like anybody can write something complicated, or any idiot can write something complicated, but it's hard to write something simple.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the genius of like Hank Williams or, stuff like that.
Yeah. Plus, the simpler it is,
The better.
the easier it is to understand.
Less is more. Yeah, that's great melodies and the stories and all. I enjoy it.
Thank you. Wait till you gotta.
I can't wait. I'm gonna lay with that album when I get home tonight.
Oh,
And I appreciate
lay with your wife, man.
Well, it's hard. It's hard. We sleep in separate rooms and separate
Well, that makes you appreciate each other more when you see her.
But now that we've got an album, we can listen to together.
Yeah.
Album and some candlelight.
This is baby making music.
Hey. You know, that'd be a miraculous act to have that happen right now.
Yeah, well, you can try though.
Yeah. You ever heard of
to try
vasectomy? Well, folks, it's time for another tale of the week from myself, and this one is very relevant, seeing as how we're sitting on the first day of 2022. Oh, how about that? Happy New Year, old co-host. On a December 31st afternoon in 1952, Hank Williams climbed into the back seat of his powder blue Cadillac and headed out of Montgomery, Alabama, to a New Year's Eve show in Charleston, West Virginia. His driver, Charles Carr, a college student, called ahead from Knoxville to let them know Hank would not arrive on time due to the severe ice storm that had crippled air and road transportation. Carr was told to head the car on towards Canton, Ohio, where Hank was scheduled to play on New Year's Day. In Knoxville, the driver requested a doctor for Hank. After Dr. P.H. Cardwell injected Hank with 2 shots of vitamin B12 that also contained a quarter grain of morphine, they toted him out to the back seat and headed out again. Carr drove the car on until Oak Hill, West Virginia, where he stopped to refuel the Cadillac at about 5:30 a.m. Somewhere between Knoxville and Oak Hill, Hank Williams, the king of country music, passed away. On January 4th, Hank's funeral was held at the Montgomery Municipal Auditorium, where over 20,000 fans and loved ones passed by his silver coffin to pay their final respects. His body was laid to rest at the Oakwood Annex Cemetery in Montgomery. My entry into this world followed Hank Williams' exit exactly 9 months to the day. I've probably been listening to him since I was conceived, seeing as how my daddy owned every album he had ever released. It's the first music I ever heard growing up as a child, and it still holds a sacred place in my heart. I can only imagine how much Daddy loves his songs. Hank Williams was one of the 20th century's most celebrated singer-songwriters. He had 11 number 1 hits over his career, as well as a slew of others in the top 10. His legacy was immense. In 1960, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 1961, he was inducted in the Country Music Hall of Fame. In 1985, he was inducted into the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. 1987, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 1999, the Native American Music Hall of Fame. In 2010, he was awarded a posthumous songwriting citation by the Pulitzer Prize Board. In 2011, his 1949 number 1 hit, Lovesick Blues, was inducted into the Recording Academy Grammy Hall of Fame. Hank Williams was an inspiration to many artists of the 50s and 60s, including Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Gene Vincent, Ricky Nelson, George Jones, Merle Haggard, and Conway Twitty. It's safe to say that Daddy's love for Hank's music was well warranted, as was millions of other devotees around the world. December 15th of 2015, I was invited to play a songwriter guitar pull at the Cloverdale Playhouse in Montgomery. I shared the stage with fellow Georgians, Kate and Corey of Atlanta, and Heather Luttrell from East Point. As part of our compensation, we each received 2 passes to the Hank Williams Museum downtown. So the next morning, my wife, Lynn, a Grand Ole Opry country music loving girl herself, rode with me as we took in the sights and sounds of Hank Williams Town. We started with lunch at Chris Hot Dogs, the oldest restaurant in Montgomery where Hank used to dine. Moving on, we found Hank's bronze lifelike statue in a downtown park, then visited the museum several blocks away where we discovered a treasure of memorabilia, including his 1952 blue Cadillac, his famous cream-colored nudie suit covered with blue notes on a musical staff, and his 1947 Gibson acoustic guitar. From the museum, we eased on up Upper Wetumpka Road and turned into the Oakwood Cemetery Annex. We found the graveside of Hank Williams, a beautiful marble testament to the man also known as Luke the Drifter. I wrote a song in honor of Hank Williams back in 2005, and I was hell-bent on singing it that day. I pulled my Martin guitar out of its case, dropped the 6th string down to a D, and started singing as a cold December rain began to fall. This is kind of what it sounded like for Hank Williams. Taking a ride in a long blue Cadillac, man in the backseat shooting up smack, hearing the sound of a lonesome whippoorwill, breaking up the still night, making me feel so lonesome. I could cry so lonesome, I might die. I'm lonesome. Can't you see? I need you here to comfort me. Broken down heart sinking low in Alabama, pain in the damn heat, screen door slam, knocking out songs in the key of misery, setting the pieces of my cold heart free. I'm lonesome. I could cry so lonesome, I might die. I'm lonesome. Can't you see? I need you here to comfort me. I'm drifting away like a cowboy that I am, wishing like Sam Hill to make a new stand. Rhinestone studs down to the core, strip 'em on my poor back, I want no more. I'm lonesome. I could cry so lonesome, I might die. I'm lonesome. Can't you see? I need you here to comfort me.
Yes, sir.
My wife did that. Lynn did that camera work there.
I was going to ask if that was Justin.
Nah.
That was Justin.
And we were, and it was starting to rain, and it didn't start to rain until right then when she turned the camera on, and I started playing this little tribute to Hank. The rain started drizzling down. I thought, oh hell.
It rained the first time I went there.
It's a beautiful place. Yeah. I mean, look at the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
How
I like that it's at the top of that hill, and if you're looking behind where the camera is now,
yeah,
you can see just rolling hills or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy. Old Hank wasn't but a few like him. And they ain't but a few like our good buddy, Brad Loretti. Y'all check him out. This Frontier Needs Heroes. I guess your Instagram. Yeah. All the places that they can find you online, YouTube.
Oh, yeah. All that stuff.
All that stuff.
Yeah, just search This Frontier Needs Heroes and you'll find it all. Or go to my website and get the links. Yeah. So.
Well, buddy, we sure do appreciate you being here.
Well, it was great to see you.
Hang in there, buddy.
That's all we can do, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Hope and hang.
Be safe out there on the road, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Yeah. Look forward to seeing y'all again soon. Come on back.
Happy New Year.
When the cold black water finds its way across through your veins, it just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate.